Hey, this is Steve from Real Progressives. This is a late night stream. I should be in bed by now, but I am so troubled by the constant barrage of people trying so hard to change my focus, to put it onto the GOP, to start worrying about Bush and Trump and, Wolfowitz this and Cheney that. I just don't care about the GOP. I don't have anything of interest about the GOP. There's nothing about them that makes me even want to really talk about them. I haven't watched 1 minute of the convention, their convention. I haven't paid one iota to any issues that they're bringing up. I haven't cared about them. And the reason for that is very simple. They're a distraction. They're nothing more than a distraction, literally. And so every time I think to myself, why are we not enacting progressive legislation? Why are we not enacting, progressive causes around the world? Why do we not have a progressive viewpoint prevalent in the United States? And I think a lot of it has to do with we spend more time focused on cutting down the GOP, more time laughing at their ignorance, more time laughing at the hillbillies and the this and the that and the other, and very little time on expressing exactly what our values are, what it is that's driving us. Because I assure you, when you talk about issues and you talk about what's important to you, you talk about what's important as a progressive, people listen. And then you explain to them, hey, I'm a progressive, and this is what I stand for. And what I stand for is not, making jokes constantly about the GOP and how stupid they are. And it hit me earlier. Ta-Nehisi Coates had talked about Bernie Sanders and how Bernie was kind of not getting the whole racial justice thing. He wasn't really on point completely. And a lot of us, myself included, got really angry at him because we felt like Bernie was the only one addressing the stuff. And then Ta-Nehisi Coates came out and said, you know why I'm hard on Bernie? I'm hard on Bernie because Bernie knows more than Hillary. I'm not going to waste my time with Hillary. Hillary will say anything. She doesn't understand our issues. But Bernie does. So I'm going to be hard on the one guy that gets it because he's so close to getting it right. Why not focus on the one sane guy in the room and see if we can get one person to say this stuff right? And when you look at the Democrats, they say a lot of things that sound an awful lot like what a progressive might sound like. And then you hear what they have to do and you realize they're not progressive at all. So my focus has been entirely on beating the living crap out of the Democrats. Not because I want to beat them like GOP, although I do, but it's because they're closest to being right out of the two major parties. And I want them to act right. I want them to come closer to right so that we don't have to worry about them. But instead, we've got two really, really bad conservative parties right now. And so every time I see somebody post something about Donald Trump or Melania Trump, or I see them talking about all the horrible things Lord Emperor Trump would do, I remind myself that if Democrats and lefties and Greens and everybody else takes care of their business, there's nothing Donald Trump can do to us that would hurt us. We can block him every step along the way. He's the boogeyman. This is the us versus them, beat him kind of thing. And, I used to always say, I hate both siders. They're not really saying anything. They're equivocating. They're just sort of drawing these false equivalences. But the reality is that every single time we try to enact meaningful change, the only people that could even partially understand what we're talking about are the Democrats. The GOP has no idea what we're talking about. And they require an awful lot of one-on-one work. You can't just talk to them about a subject. You've really got to break it down for them and knock strongholds away. Conservatives can see the light if you've got the time and patience to take them there. But Democrats, they're hardened. They don't really care about the issues. They only care about vote blue. And that's what's scary. That's the part that makes me want to beat on them all day long. Because they're not really solving any problems. They're really not. They're paying lip services stuff, but they are the standard bearer of the status quo. So if you take some pride in running off and protesting Trump, or you take some pride in making up Trump memes and stuff like that, I think you're wasting your time. I think everybody knows he's a boob. I think the real war, if you really want to fight a war and you really want to get some progress done, the real war is to fight against the Democrats, to fight against them and call on them to remember that they are anti-war, to call on them and remind them that they used to care about the working man, to call on them and remind them that they are the ones that actually understand science about climate change, and remind them that they didn't always used to be bought and paid for by Wall Street and big corporate interests. So that's why I focus my ire, and that's why I focus my diatribes on the Democrats, because they're the only ones that have even any hearing left whatsoever about the key issues that drive progressives within the main two parties. So as we're going through this nomination process, next week is going to be the convention. I'm going to be there on Saturday for the People's Convention. I'm not going to be talking about Donald Trump. You're not going to see us post a bunch of things talking about how horrible the GOP is. You're not going to see us posting and talking about them. You're going to see us talking about the places where we can make change. And that is supporting the Greens. That's supporting other progressives. That's supporting people that are fighting within the Democratic Party against the Democratic establishment. But that is not going to be the piñata, the prop of Donald Trump. Come on, I'm serious. I'm too smart for that. If you're the dullard out there going, but Trump, but Trump, but Trump, to the people, the smart kids in the room, we're laughing at you because you've been snookered. You've been drugged by the nose, and you're making a fool of yourself. You're not cool. It's not hip. It's not sharp. It's not smart. It looks stupid. It's like a climate denier. That's about what it is. That's how silly you look, like bringing a snowball into the Senate to talk about climate change. That's what people crying about Donald Trump look like. I'm serious. And when Bernie does it, let me tell you, there is nothing that makes me get sicker in my stomach than watching Bernie talk about Donald Trump. I'm serious. You want to talk about one thing that I really have a problem with Bernie on? It's him talking about Donald Trump. It's a friggin' smokescreen. It's a shiny object, and all it does is take away from the very real issues that we are facing. There's nothing that Donald Trump can do to us that wouldn't require Democrats signing off on. Remember that. So unless the Democrats are suddenly going to sign off on Trump's craziness, it's all a big giant smokescreen. It's about us versus them, team sports. We got cheerleaders. We got this. You know, we got spirit. Yes, we do. We got spirit. How about you? I'm not into that, man. I'm too smart for it. I think you guys are too smart for it. And I'm asking you to think about it. Next time you got to post a Trump meme or post an article about Donald Trump, ask yourself, are you really saying anything? Are you really doing anything of substance? Is it a complete waste of everyone's time to read your post if you did that? Yeah, it really is. You're wasting people's time. You're clogging up the news feed. You're shaming yourself and embarrassing yourself. We all know, progressives know, hey, bigotry sucks. Xenophobia sucks. Climate denial sucks. Trump does all those things. So what are you going to do? You're just going to keep throwing it out there like we're going to be impressed? It's silly. Focus where we can actually make progress. And that is flipping delegates. That's getting into this convention. It's making a big scene in Philadelphia for our change, guys and gals. Not about Trump. When we show up en masse, when we show up huge numbers, they've got nothing. We overrun them in the state houses. We overrun them in the Senate. We overrun them in the House. and we fight. That's meaningful. You want to post something about fighting the system, fighting the establishment, fighting for change? Now you've got my interest. But talking about Donald Trump, really? Unless you want to be my good night story so I can fall asleep and skip the sleep aids, that's about the only thing that's going to do for me is put my feet to sleep. Does it turn you on to hear about Donald Trump? Do you get excited talking about the GOP? Is it more fun to make a meme about the GOP than the do-nothing Democrats? Think about it. You are embarrassing yourself. Nobody thinks it's cool. Nobody of value thinks it's cool. And acting scared and acting foolish just shows you that you haven't paid attention, that you're kind of a neophyte at this whole thing. And I'm telling you, you don't wear it well. It's not a sexy look. The real sexy look is to not stare at the shiny object. The real sexy look is get out there and volunteer and help get progressive causes, the real causes, medical care for all, ending wars, stopping fracking, civil rights, racial justice, ending the drug war. Not talking about Melania's freaking thong she wore in some stupid ad she did. For real. Who cares about her and Michelle Obama's arms? Have you learned nothing from Bernie Sanders this entire campaign? Who cares about that stuff? That's why I get so disappointed in Bernie when Bernie talks about Trump, because I don't care. I don't care. And I think he's playing down to the least among us that get led by the nose by Trump fear porn. And I hope Bernie stops that. I hope he starts treating us like adults again and making us talk about the issues instead of talking about Donald Trump. It's a joke. So if you're watching the GOP convention, God love you. Why? I don't know. What are you going to learn? They're batshit crazy. Wow. Now that's a flash. That's a blinding flash of the obvious. Good for you. They deny science. Do tell. They hate the gays and the Muslims. No. They want to deport the Mexicans. Oh, wow. That's a shocker. Try to focus on making positive change and stop pumping Trump. Okay? This is Steve with Real Progressives. Now I'm finally tired enough to sign off. Have a good night, everybody.